Okay, so with the Eagles just bringing in Shaq Leonard this week, how big of an impact will he make on this struggling Eagles defense, who in the wake of them getting 42 points dropped on them, both Nick Sirianni and Kevin Byard seem to take subtle jabs at defensive coordinator Sean Desai. But Sirianni is also looking himself in the mirror, as he seems to already be learning from the loss, and he may have leaked some big changes coming to the Eagles offense, including a bigger role for DeAndre Swift. And the offense will only be helped more with Dallas Goedert returning this week, and nobody will benefit more than Jalen Hurts, as he and everyone else will be looking to bounce back from one of the worst losses the Birds have taken in years, and Jason Kelce sent a message to fans expressing confidence in the Birds' ability to do just that. So we're going to talk about all that and more news in this video today, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. So let's start this off by congratulating the Birds' future Hall of Fame tackle Lane Johnson on being named the Eagles' Walter Payton Man of the Year award nominee. That's obviously an incredible honor. We know how much Lane has done for the community and also the issues that he's faced and been open about in the past, so it's just awesome to see him get the nomination, and drop a like down below for that. But now transitioning from a guy who's been here for 11 years to a guy who just got here this week, linebacker Shaq Leonard has officially arrived in Philly. We see the picture of him here getting to the NovaCare complex, and now he's going to have this week to real quick get acclimated, learn the defense, and then try and go out on Sunday versus the Cowboys, who, by the way, apparently made a big push for him, but he still ultimately decided he didn't want to play for the bad guys, and he then chose to sign with the Birds, and he revealed the reason he chose Philly on Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't think it was just, Dallas, Philly. It was more so, Nick and I were together when we was in Indy. Nick was a great coach, great competitor. We had a bond, when we was in Indy. So we kind of just went with that.
It's very cool that the reason he chose Philly is because of his relationship with Nick Sirianni. It's just nice to hear that guys want to play for him. But now looking forward to the matchup with Dallas, let's hope that Shaq Leonard is able to adjust pretty quickly, because the Eagles are going to need him this week badly. Obviously last week they were stuck with Nick Morrow and Christian Ellis as the two linebackers, and that did not go well at all. Both really struggled in pass coverage, particularly Nick Morrow, who gave up 6 catches for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns, which was over half the yardage Brock Purdy threw for. And Christian Ellis isn't even on the roster anymore after being waived on Wednesday, so even though Shaq Leonard isn't the player that he once was, and he's not great in coverage either, he's not nearly that bad. And by the numbers, he hasn't been too horrible in pass coverage this season. He's only allowed 14 catches for 129 yards, so hopefully he's able to come in and help improve the coverage in the middle of the field just a little bit, because again, it was the linebackers in the middle of the field area that the 49ers were having so much success going at on Sunday. Crazy to say, it actually wasn't the secondary or the corners, as they actually held up pretty well. Darius Slay only allowed 3 catches for 32 yards all game. The two safeties only allowed a combined total of 6 yards, although albeit one was a touchdown. And James Bradberry, he didn't allow a single catch, and he actually wasn't even targeted all game, which can we at least get a like for that, because not only has James Bradberry been improving a lot after a rough start to the season, but he also had to deal with all the crap that the 49ers put him through. I mean, even though he's just a guy who goes about his business, and he's really the quietest guy out there on the field, Deebo Samuel still chose him as the guy to go after, calling him trash. And then pre-game, the 49ers decided to be a bunch of punks and try and go bully Bradberry, as they interrupted the Eagles' DB drills, and a couple guys gave a little shove to Bradberry.
I'm like, what do you say fuck me for?
These Niners are really a bunch of punks. I mean, how do they get away with blatantly obvious things like this? And nobody even wants to give them any heat for it, right? But if the Eagles were the ones doing it, it'd be a whole different story. Whatever. The Niners smacked the Eagles, so they deserve to have their moment, but let's just hope that all this behavior eventually comes back to bite them. But getting back to the Eagles' defensive performance in this game, we gotta wonder how much of it should get attributed to the coaching, because the 49ers' motion was clearly an issue for the Birds' defense, and it caused a whole bunch of problems. So Kyle Shanahan clearly got the best of Sean Desai in that regard, and Kevin Byard seems to agree with that, as after the game, he may have indirectly, I don't want to say blamed Desai and the coaches, but he certainly didn't give them the vote of confidence either, as he said, quote, "A lot of motion, I think, got us out of position. We got outplayed and outcoached today. I don't think we were clean enough on the details of the coverages and the things we were doing today. It wasn't a whole lot of air yards, it was a lot of catch and runs to turn into big plays. When you're leaving guys wide open, it's not going to end well for the defense." So all very valid points by Byard there. I think it's definitely fair to say that the Niners were able to scheme a lot of their guys wide open with all the motion, and the Eagles' preparation coming into the week to stop that just was not good enough, and a lot of that falls on Sean Desai, as he is the leader of the defense after all. Now, on Monday, Nick Sirianni spoke about the Eagles' lack of preparation on the defensive side of the ball heading into the game, and what he said was very interesting.
When you get a team that does a lot of different things like that with emotions and stuff like that, it's to make sure that everyone's on the same page at all times, and that's our job as coaches, to make sure that the job description is very clear. Here's what we do against a Y motion. Here's what we do against the F motion. Here's what we do against the F motion, return back. Here's what we do against the F motion and speed, hitting like a jet motion. And I think that's where we just didn't do a good enough job of just making sure everyone was on the same page as far as, hey, all the little different things to the different motions that they could do. And so we just have to put the players in better positions to succeed. And when I say that, that's not by any means anything at Sean, right? That's me. I'm looking at myself in the mirror.
So there you obviously heard him kind of try and take some of the fall, saying it's not on Sean, it's on me, but that's what you're supposed to say as the head coach. He's obviously not going to put Desai on blast in front of the media, but as an offensive-minded head coach, sure, Nick does have some responsibility there on the defensive side of the ball, but the majority of it has to be on Sean Desai. I mean, there's no way around that. He just wasn't good enough, which he does know, and he actually took the blame for that in his Tuesday press conference.
They're looking to me, and I got to be better for them. I got to be better for them. I got to get them in the right call faster and more consistently, and I think that's what it comes down to.
You at least got to give Desai credit for taking accountability. But still, there's no question that he just has to be better as the defensive coordinator, because if you look at the numbers, the Eagles' defense really isn't very good, as they're 24th in points allowed, 29th in points allowed per drive, 28th in first downs allowed, 32nd in third down defense, dead last, 29th in red zone defense, 26th in takeaways, and only 12th in sacks, which makes you kind of wonder, were we too hard on Jonathan Gannon?
Well. How the turntables...
Okay, I'm not ready to go that far just yet. Sean Desai has had some nice moments as the defensive coordinator, and he's had to face a lot tougher matchups than Gannon's crew did last year, so I'm still going to try and give him the benefit of the doubt, but there's still no question he has to seriously take a look in the mirror and maybe make some big changes to try and bounce back from this loss. And the entire team seems to know that they need to seriously fix some things at this point. That blowout loss may have been exactly what they needed, at least Brandon Graham seemed to think so, because on WIP radio he said, quote, "I love that we just got whooped because we've been getting away with stuff and I've been talking about it and we always address those things, but it caught up to us this week. I just know that I love this team." I mean, he's right. They have been getting away with stuff that needs to be fixed just because they've been winning, but now after a brutal loss like this one, maybe that was the wake-up call they needed, and now it's just about fixing these issues. And it seems like Jason Kelce is confident they'll be able to bounce back, as in a recent appearance on WIP radio, he sent a message to fans that should at least bring back a little optimism.
The thing that I can, and I know that maybe the rest of the fan base doesn't feel this, but I still feel like we have great players. I really do. I feel like we have great players. I know we have great coaches. So to me, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If we put our minds to it and everybody really dedicates themselves to fixing their areas of where we're struggling. I didn't see, watching the tape, a team getting manhandled. It might look like that and the score looks like that. I saw a team that, gave up a lot of big plays on defense, didn't stop the run the way we usually do. I saw an offense that is not putting together consistent drives, but we have a great offensive line, we have a great defensive line, we have great receivers, we have great secondary players who have been great in this league. We have great coaches, we have a great quarterback. I firmly am optimistic that we will play better than we did this past week.
You gotta love the confidence from Kelce. And I do have a hard time believing that they won't play any better this week than last week, and I also think that most of these problems the Eagles are having are fixable, so I agree with Kelce when he says that if everyone dedicates themselves to fixing their issues, then they can work out everything and bounce back and finally play to their standard. And one of those issues the Eagles are having revolves around the run game and specifically the play calling surrounding the run game. But it sounds like some changes could be coming soon. So don't worry, we're going to get to that and a lot more in just a minute here. But real quick, I have to say, if you are enjoying this video or finding it informative in any way, and you're part of the 75% of people that haven't done so already, make sure you go down right now, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And really importantly, turn on notifications so you don't miss when any other videos just like this are uploaded. I think that's a win-win for the both of us. I mean, I get more people watching the videos, and you don't miss any other Eagles coverage just like this. And also, if you're enjoying this video and you want to show some support, make sure you leave a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. Now, with that being said, let's get back into the video. I feel like far too often we've seen the Eagles coaching staff call some runs early, those runs not be too successful, and then they just completely get away from the run game entirely, which, as an offense, you just can't do that, because then you become one-dimensional and it's a lot easier to defend you. And we've seen this problem really rear its ugly head in the Eagles' 2 losses this year, where the pass-to-run ratio is completely skewed towards passing, to where the Eagles pretty much just got away from the run game entirely. And that becomes even more true when you realize that in both games, Jalen Hurts was the team's leading rusher, with most of the carries coming off the scramble drill. Now, the good news is that after this loss, it seems like the Eagles coaches are finally admitting that something needs to change in the run game. Offensive coordinator Brian Johnson admitted that they have to stick with it even when it's not going well.
Yeah, I mean, it always starts with being able to run the ball efficiently and effectively. We got to continue to do a better job at that. And part of it too is just
finding that balance of patience, you know what I'm saying, of just being able to continue to hammer attempts and try to get the guys in a good rhythm and a good flow.
Now that's a great sign. And on top of that, Nick Sirianni seemed to give a similar message on Monday, which really makes it seem like we could see a lot more rushing attempts consistently in these next few weeks.
We know we have to establish the run game. We know we have to be better in the run game. And that's, we just have to be, have things that where you get on the positive side. There was a couple times where we got behind the sticks. That doesn't mean you still can't run it in that situation. But we got to be better as coaches, devoting ourselves to the run game to take pressure off everybody. We know to get to where we want to go, and really all we think about is this next game. But we have to be better in the run game, and get more runs called. To take some pressure off everybody. So yeah, we got to do better there.
Then add on to that the fans that were standing outside the NovaCare complex today holding run the ball signs, and Sirianni actually agreed with them.
We gave them coffee. No, hey, I love our fans. I love their passion and their energy. That's not the first time I've heard run the ball. And you know what? And we do need to run, we do need to continue to try to run the ball.
So overall, it's just good to hear Nick finally admit that the run game has been an issue, and they need to do what they can as coaches to stick with it or to try and establish it earlier in the game. Because again, when the running game is going, that opens up the entire offense even more. So it sounds like we could see an increased role for DeAndre Swift in the near future, which is perfect because I've been calling for him to get a lot more touches. The guy's an elite playmaker both in the run game and the receiving game. He's got patience, elusiveness, explosiveness. He's just a weapon, and I feel like he's been underutilized a bit. I mean, it's crazy to think that the guy's 4th in the NFL in rushing, and that's with all the Eagles' run game issues, so hopefully getting him the ball more helps elevate the Eagles' offense. And something that'll surely help elevate their offense is having Dallas Goedert back for this game, because it looks like he's going to be ready to go after missing these last 3 games with a forearm fracture. He recently stated that he feels about 85 to 90% healthy, which is great news, and again, having him back will definitely elevate the offense, as they've clearly missed his presence over the middle of the field, especially in last game, and Jalen Hurts has also missed him a lot, which is clear when you look at the numbers showing that in the last 3 games that Goedert played in, Hurts' completion percentage was around 75% in each game, while in the 3 games without him, it never even hit 65% and was below the 60% mark twice. So again, hopefully having Goedert, who's a safety blanket at times, back for this game will really help elevate Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' offense's level of play. And something else that I've repeatedly said I think could help this offense is to bring back Zach Ertz. And again, I've said this a bunch on this channel, but I really think having a vet leader like Ertz back in the locker room who loves this team and loves this city, while also being able to be another sort of safety blanket at times, would be great for this team. And we actually got a recent update on the situation that makes it seem like an Ertz return could happen anytime now. With ML Football, which is albeit a somewhat questionable source, but still, they put out a tweet saying, quote, "News, the Eagles have spoken with 3-time Pro Bowl tight end Zach Ertz's camp, and a reunion seems likely in the eyes of rival front offices." Now that's obviously great news, but I'm just curious what's taking so long. I mean, at this point, he's not going to be able to play in the Dallas game, but come on, Zach, just come home already.
Why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
Now, on some other free agency news, which is honestly crazy to still be saying that in December, the Eagles are also reportedly the most likely landing spot for former Eagle Ndamukong Suh, who's expected to sign with a contender very soon. And I mean, why not? It can't hurt to have a guy like Suh back in the locker room and back out on the field, and you know, the more the merrier, right? I mean, I definitely like to have Suh back. But what do you guys think? Should the Eagles bring back both Ertz and Suh? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And also, again, if you did enjoy this video and want to see others like it, make sure you subscribe and also turn on notifications. Also, leave a like down on this video if you did enjoy it and want to show some support. And if you want to watch another video, this one recapping the Eagles' loss to the 49ers, you can go check this out right here. And now with that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.